Hi, I'm Kumar. This video is to explain my blog, which is ways of generating execution plan in Oracle database. So I'll be demonstrating whatever has been explained in the blog by executing them on the screen on the real-time database. So we are going to understand them little better than in the blog. So generating an execution plan is more often used by the Oracle DBAs whenever they see a performance issue on top of a query. So if a query is performing badly and if the end user reports that it is a problematic query, the first thing that I hope every DBA will try to do is to generate the explain plan or execution plan of that query. So this particular blog will purely concentrate on how many different ways are there to actually generate the execution plan of a query and which one is the best way and in what scenario what explain plan or what execution plan has to be used is what this blog will concentrate on. So to repeat it again, we are going to see the different ways of generating the execution plan, and we are also going to summarize which type of generating execution plan will help in what scenario is what we are going to conclude with. So to start this demonstration, I'll be connecting to the database as Scott user. As you see on the screen, I have connected to one of my databases. So I'll be connecting to one of my databases as Scott user, and then we will perform the activity. So the first way of generating an execution plan is by directly writing a select statement on top of plan underscore table. Since Oracle 10G, there is a global table called plan underscore table which is available for all the users in the database to run explain plan, and the explain plan will record the execution plan of a query into this plan underscore table. So now we are going to actually run a query. We are not going to literally run a query. We are only going to run an explain plan on top of a query, because without running an explain plan, your optimizer cannot record, or your database cannot record the execution plan of the optimizer into the plan underscore table. So just for your information, just type describe and plan underscore table. You will have that plan underscore table globally available to all the users in the database. So you see the output, so plan underscore table is available. So now let me run an explain plan on top of a query. So I'm not running the query, I'm just running an explain plan on top of a query. So I have the query here. So as you see on the screen, explain plan for, I have a table called T1 in the Scott schema. I have just ran an explain plan on top of this query. Now, after we ran the explain plan, we know that this particular table is now populated with the execution plan of this particular query. Now how can we extract with the help of a simple select statement the execution plan from this plan underscore table is the next point. So for this I have written a basic select statement that can help you to get a basic details out of the execution plan, just like your cost, your cardinality. So these are the only two columns that I have used in the result of this execution plan. But please remember, you can modify the SQL query whatever I am running on the screen, and you can include whatever other columns you wanted to actually be the part of your execution plan. So let me run my current SQL statement, that is the select statement on top of the plan underscore table, so that I see a proper explain plan on top of the screen. So now as you see on the screen, I have this, but it is not correctly structured, isn't it? So let me actually set these columns into a proper structure so that I can see this execution plan clearly. So now let me set the lines as 100 and execution plan to 50. Let me rerun this query. So now you see a perfect explain plan kind of result, that is nothing but your execution plan. So you can see the cost of this particular query that you have ran an explain plan on top of it is 298, and the cardinality is 31225. We all know the cardinality is nothing but the number of rows expected from this select statement that you have ran an explain plan before. So this is one way of generating an execution plan after running an explain plan, that too from plan underscore table directly. Now let us see the second method of generating an execution plan, but this method whatever I am going to deal next is the most often and user friendly type of generating an explain plan generating an execution plan from the explain plan. So now, as I have already, ran an explain plan on the same, query, I'll be, instead of using this plan underscore table, I'll be using dbms underscore xplan package. That is what I said, that, people are mostly like running this package to generate an execution plan. That's what we are going to use. But remember one point, dbms underscore xplan package has got multiple functions and procedures inside it. Just write describe and this package, you can see there are too many functions inside this dbms underscore xplan. But out of these too many packages, the one that will be more oftenly used by the DBS to generate the execution plan is, the first one is display, and the second one is display underscore cursor. So these are the two functions which are very oftenly used by the DBS to generate the execution plan of a query. So we are going to now understand what is the output that you get when you use display function, and what is the output that you get when you use display underscore cursor function. So let us see that. As we have already ran an explain plan on top of a query, we can run display function now on top of the already executed explain plan of a query. Before I run this, as you can see on the screen, display is the function that can allow multiple inputs to it. What are the multiple inputs? Table name, that is nothing but in which table the execution plan of the query is stored, and statement ID. I think you have also seen my earlier video on how do we generate explain plan for multiple SQL statements. That's where I have used statement ID, and the format that you wanted to see on the output. So all these things will be the default one if you don't specify anything. So if you see on the screen, I'm not passing any parameters into this function. That means all the values that has to be passed into this function will be taken as default values. Now as you see on the screen, the default values are actually picked up from plan underscore table. So from plan underscore table, you are seeing the output of the execution plan of the query that we have ran before. Now you see the cardinality that we have seen was 31225. That is what here renamed as rows. So here you see the cardinality as 31225. That is nothing but the number of rows processed by the your instance to go and get the data. And then the cost that you see is 298, the same thing that you see here as well when you run a select statement. So running a dbms underscore xplan followed by the function called display, or running a select statement on plan underscore table will give you the same result. But you can actually get rid of writing a very big very big select statement. To have a structured output of the execution plan can be avoided by simply running this dbms underscore xplan dot display. This is why display function from dbms underscore xplan is most preferred by the DBS to generate execution plan. Now the next way of generating the execution plan is using dbms underscore xplan dot display underscore cursor. So display underscore cursor is the one that will fetch the execution plan not from plan underscore table, but from the already existing statistics which are available in shared underscore pool. That is nothing but shared pool. So in the shared pool, we know that every SQL query will be available until unless it is flushed out, and the query related statistics will also be available, including the execution plan of that query. So for this particular statement which I just ran an explain plan, I'll have to manually run that query in a different console and capture SQL ID and child number. So without SQL ID of a query and without a child number of that particular query, you cannot run dbms underscore xplan, that is dbms underscore xplan dot display underscore cursor. So display underscore cursor will get the details from the shared pool. So the query has to be available in the shared pool. So let me establish a duplicate session and then run this query. As you see on the screen in a different console, I'm just running this query. Now the query, let it run at the backend. Now I will be capturing the SQL ID of that query and also what is the child number of that query. And definitely in the future blogs, we will definitely understand what is this child number and what is this cursor child number in detail. Don't worry about that. So now from v$SQL, I'm capturing what is the SQL ID and then the child number of that particular SQL. So to do that, I'll have to connect to /sysdba. So let me connect here and then fetch the details. So I'll be connecting as sysdba. and then get these details. So as you see, this is the SQL ID for this particular SQL that you have ran just now, and the child number, the latest child number for this SQL ID is 0. So now let me generate the execution plan from the shared pool, that is nothing but from your dynamic performance view called v$SQL underscore plan. So how do you use dbms underscore xplan dot display underscore cursor? Let me show you the syntax now. Now as you see on the screen, I am running this one, so which is nothing but display underscore cursor. In the display underscore cursor, you can clearly see what is the SQL ID, what is the child number that you have given, and what is the original complete query, and the plan, that is nothing but your execution plan. This is another way of generating execution plan of a query. Now, when you have seen multiple ways of generating an execution plan, if you ask me which one is the best way, always considering display underscore cursor to generate an execution plan is the best one, because your optimizer, whenever you have ran explain plan on top of a query, if there are any bind variables in the query, the execution plan that is generated by explain plan here do not include the values of the blind variable to generate this execution plan. But when you see the same thing for dbms underscore xplan dot display underscore cursor, that is the final execution plan that optimizer has decided after considering the values of the bind variable. So the execution plan that you get from display underscore cursor will have the correct plan rather than dbms underscore dot display. So what I suggest is, whenever you are trying to generate an execution plan of a query, if the execution plan or SQL ID is already existing in the shared pool, try to generate the execution plan from display underscore cursor, that is from your memory, instead of running an explain plan on top of that query. Thank you.